know I've been on a little bit of a short hiatus. Kofe Talk is officially back. For those of you who don't know yet, the goal of this podcast is to connect you with individuals who are connected with the sports community and talk over a cup of coffee. I am fired up for our next guest. He is the recruiting coordinator at Louisville Football, Tyler McEntire. How is it going, man?
Going good. Just getting back in the swing of things. Me and my wife just had a daughter, so we're traversing that realm of working in sports and parenthood. So that's been interesting and a new hurdle to jump over. But yeah, man, she's killing it. And so we're just taking it one day at a time.
I definitely want to jump into that a little bit, but before we kind of go into that, do you want to tell me a little bit more about how you just got started in your sports career?
Back in 2010, I was a sophomore at App, and kind of got started, hooked up with Jake Stroop, who's now with I don't know if this is public, but he's with the Falcons, or he was with Georgia. Anyway, he was the video coordinator at App in 2000 for a long time. Got hooked up with him, being a video, just recording practice. Is kind of how I truthfully got started.
Yep.
Always kind of wanted to, obviously played in high school, was not good, did just very average player, and always wanted to get into the coaching thing. And so this was kind of like the foot in the door there. Hooked up with Jake, kind of worked my way through there. Wasn't really the production side, the creative side there. It was really just coach's video. And so from there, the following year, I kind of got into the student coaching thing, working with receivers. And this is when Coach Moore was still there, legendary Coach Jerry Moore. And so, and this is when App was still FCS, so there were no GAs, no QCs. I mean, it was coaches and student assistants, and that's what you had, as far as support staff. So anyway, so did that for 2 years. Coach Moore left in, Coach Satterfield came in 2012 as the offensive coordinator. And again, no GAs and anything. We had one student assistant, it was me. And so he kind of looked at me and he said, hey, this is a playbook that I got from FIU. Like, I don't know what you want to do with it, but we probably need to make it look like an App playbook. And that's kind of like the start. That's where it all started. The only guy.
What year is this now?
This is 2012 when Sat is now the OC for App. And so after that, Coach Sat's now the head coach. 2013, we transitioned FCS to FBS. We're able to have GAs now. And so I started being a GA there in 2014, which was year one of FBS ball, being in the Sun Belt. And so working with the receivers, and then the next year, working with the quarterbacks, Coach Ponce, Coach Stepp, those guys, big mentors there, Coach Ledford, just a big squad there. Had a really good time, great staff those first few years at App. 2015 kind of went on a run there, went 7, we were 1-5, just lost to Liberty, who at that time was still FCS, also in double overtime.
Yep.
Thought it was like, this is not good. But the next week played Troy, beat them, and won 7 straight. And then kind of the rest is history there. In 2015, went to Camellia Bowl, first bowl game, went 11-2. I mean, it was just, or 10-2, no, 11-2. But just kind of went from there.
It's crazy. I feel like that's when like app really got put on the map.
Yeah, right. And so man, that was just like, I always remember that. It's just a special time, special group of people, the players, the staff that we had, and still around a lot of those same guys even now, 6-7 years later. A lot of those same guys are still on our staff here at Louisville. Some have gone on other places and to the league and stuff like that. But it's some of those players that were on that team are now GAs for us, which is sweet. You know, like half our staff at here at Louisville's former players that we've had. Actually, really, most all of them. Awesome. So that's just cool, kind of keeping the culture going that we have. And just those guys that really started it all are now part of the coaching part of it. So which is pretty neat. So anyway, after that, kind of did the coaching thing and was a GA, and then kind of wanted to, I went to App. So I kind of just wanted to change up. And then so I took a GA job at Virginia Tech with Chuck and Thomas, Thomas. Yep. And those two guys were in recruiting there at Virginia Tech. And so that's kind of where I started doing graphics and stuff. Funny story, I had no idea how to do the graphic thing. When I got that job, Jake gave me a bunch of his PSDs, told me to learn a little bit of it. He said, dude, just send these in as your resume, man. I was like, I'm not doing that. He's like, dude, seriously, I'm going to back you up. You'll be able to figure it out. You'll be fine. And so I did. And so Thomas and Chuck hired me. Now I knew how to do a little bit of it. I knew how to do some stuff, but part of my resume were some of his designs that I had like reworked and stuff on my own. But anyway, figured it out from there. Had about 3 or 4 weeks to really learn Photoshop before I started there in January. From December to January. And so started rolling there with them, came back to App in June. So I was at Virginia Tech for like 6 months. Okay. And then came back to App full time, but making like $20,000 in 2016. So
and this is full time in what type?
Full time recruiting. So graphics was kind of the deal there. So it was the director of player personnel, and then me. I think what they called me was director of high school relations. Just so I was jack of all trades kind of thing. Like,
you're going to wear a lot of hats.
So a lot of hats,
work.
You know what I mean? Like, helping ops, helping on being a huge part of official visits and doing the graphics throughout the week, doing our social media stuff throughout the week, pictures of practice, video of practice, approving stuff like that. I mean, it was everything, so, and then on game day, doing whatever I needed to do on game day.
Yeah, and this is where I guess like 2016, this is when like the digital space, I think, really began to pop off throughout the entire industry.
Correct. Yeah. And so the edit game was fire at that point. And we felt like, maybe not, maybe it's just me, whatever, but we felt like we were on the cutting edge of that, like being at App for whatever reason. We were competing in that space with some Power 5 programs because the Sunbelt schools, they didn't have somebody that could do that. And so we felt like we were killing it. And so the edit game, was huge. And so that was another piece of my job, just providing the coaches with good luck graphics throughout the week, a personalized edit, slow turns, quick turns, one-offs, blah, 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 all that stuff. So it was a wild time again. And then more success, with that year we went on to, I think we went to the Committee Ball again, and won that again against Toledo. And then let's see, so that year also, or 2017 is when I kind of got back out of recruiting, went back down to be a GA just so I could coach the tight ends. So went back to school at App, on the field coach. Our 10th coach was always the GA role and always the tight ends position. So I did that, thought that's really what I wanted to do, is be a coach. And then, and we were fine, and I thought I did okay, but it just wasn't for me. I preferred the behind the scenes role, the support role, the serving role. Whereas being a coach, I was a little bit more in the spotlight, and that's just not my personality type at all. And it was also hard being, I was maybe 1 or 2 years removed from being in their shoes and had just that dynamic of like, I'm coach, but but I'm just a year older than you, that kind of thing. So I think that was tough too, but for me at least. But anyway, so did that for a year, more success at winning more games as we did. And decided I kind of want to get back into the creative space and the recruiting role, the social media stuff. And so that's when I took the job at NC State. Creative director of creative media, I think was the title, for 2 years there. And then had great success there too. Coach Dorn's most successful years there, went 9-4 and 9-4, maybe 8 and can't remember our record that second year, but anyway, signed 2 really good classes from a recruiting standpoint, 2 top 25 class, or top 25 and then a top 30 class. And then when Coach Sack got the job at Louisville, he texted me 2 words. It said the letter U and then ready. So you ready ? ? And that's all he said. And
you started packing your bags.
Started packing the bags, and now that's where I'm at here. So title is recruiting coordinator, but doing all the creative space stuff.
One thing that I love about your story is how you've kind of went back and forth from coaching to recruiting to more of the creative space, and you kind of circled through. I think a lot of dudes have issues trying things and potentially failing, or just like you, not exactly liking it as much as you're passionate about the creative and recruiting space.
Yeah.
And were there obstacles or fights that you had to overcome within just yourself or maybe the work that you were actually doing?
Yeah. So definitely with the coaching thing, when I was doing that, it was a constant battle of am I equipped? Can I do this? I don't think I'm doing a good job. I'm not doing as good a job as maybe this over here. And that's a battle that's not just specific to that instance. I mean, that's everywhere. That's even in the creative space, right?
It's like imposter syndrome, essentially, right?
No question. And am I equipped for this?
Yeah.
Am I doing the best that I can? I know I'm doing the best that I can, but is that good enough for the standard that Coach Sat has for this, or whoever your boss is for this?
Yeah.
And so that's something that I really battled with the coaching thing. And eventually it, kind of won out where, while that could be a failure, it showed me that that's not where I needed to be. That's not the path that's been laid out for me. And so yeah, I mean, you have to go through some of those, you have to go through times like that to figure out, one, who you are, what kind of character you have when you face adversity like that, which work in football, you tell your players that all the time. You're going to face adversity. It's just how you respond to it. And so
for sure,
could have quit the whole sports game altogether and just say this ain't for me, but just kind of always working to find a role for yourself, which again, you work in football, you hear that term all the time. Find a role for yourself.
Where can you provide value?
Make yourself valuable. And I feel like I've not weaseled my way. Weaseled is not the right word. Whatever word that is there.
Navigated yourself through.
I've navigated myself to create value, and I can do this role for you, coach. This is why I'm valuable. And so that's kind of how you just have to keep fighting until you find success.
Your role and what our roles in the football space has become is almost just as important as a coaching role itself, because what you're doing in developing a player off the field is just important as him, reaching whatever goals, whether it's NFL or he wants to have a really strong brand heading into a new job or opportunity after school. That's huge. And then on the recruiting side of things, I mean, I think we've all grown to realize how important us kind of opening that window and giving these recruits and our fans a window to see what's actually happening behind the scenes at a football program.
Yeah, for sure. And one, here at Louisville, we've just kind of expanded our recruiting staff, and now we've got even more people, more great people on our staff. With in addition to Pete Nocton, now we've got Coop and Caroline and Clay and Connor, like all these guys and people that we've added to just showcase what kind of squad we have here and what kind of people are in this building and what they can provide for you as a player.
Yep.
And it's my role to, like you said, showcase that. Like, how do we show that? How do we visualize that? How do we put it on social media space? How do we put it in audio? What different types of medium can we use to show what we can do for you?
What have you done in terms of being able to find the balance of your recruiting and your selling, but you're also being authentic to who the brand is? I mean, you've been in a few different places where you've worked with different coaches and different, cultures and programs that you're selling. What have you done to kind of make sure that you're always hitting and not getting too far salesy, and that way when a recruit actually comes on campus, what you're putting out on social media is what the program actually is? Because my biggest thing was, if a kid ever came on campus and we were different than what we were promoting, we become liars and you lose that kid.
All I do is I'm just a portal. Like, let's say the camera is a portal into what life is really like here at Louisville, right? And I don't have to make up that we have a great culture and a bunch of great humans teaching, coaching, leading our players. I don't have to do anything, honestly. I mean, my job's real easy. It's really, all I got to do is just kind of put up the portal here and let you guys see it through the camera and then through social media. I don't have to do it. I'm not faking it. I don't have to do anything. I just kind of take the card out and put it in the computer and just hit export and it's done. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, there's not much else that I have to do, because the best part of Coach Sad, I think, is that he is just an extremely great judge of character, and he hires people who are like him and who uphold the standards that he has. We don't have any rules here. We have 6 core values. We have no rules. If you live by those 6 core values, you don't need any rules. And so, again, I don't have to do a whole lot. I just kind of facilitate. I just know how to work the computer system. And I just give people and prospective student athletes a glimpse into what life is like here. And when you can do that, when it's not just the coaches telling future student athletes that, when it's players, their peers, their future peers that are selling that message, now I really don't have to do anything.
No doubt.
Almost
like giving them the content.
Yeah, it's almost like, well, it's somehow I got to continue to keep finding value for myself, because like now our current players are recruiting our future prospective student athletes. And so that is where we're at now in year 3. All right. And so kind of bringing that culture in. Some people leave. They just disagree with it, or they don't want to be a part of it, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But now we've brought in 2 or 3 classes with you essentially end up recruiting people who are more like you.
For sure.
Right. And so now you have that culture that's building, and now those players are recruiting your future players. And so it's just now it's a holistic type of process that's going on. And again, I'm just the lens. I don't really.
I love how you speak to it being a portal, because I always just I would always explain it in these situations like, I just point and shoot. Now, I never said that like it was a portal and articulated in that way, but that is exactly what I guess I was feeling in the moment, is that I just really like, I don't make Coach Thacker go throw a dunk into the, like, I didn't do that. He just did it and I was shooting it.
Yep. Yeah, completely agree with that. And the more real that you are, the better off you're going to be. Just be who you are. And that's another thing that Coach said does a really great job at. He is who he is. He's all the time who he is. And that you see him on the phone or you hear him on the phone, that's who he is in person. You see him on video on Zoom, that's who he is in real life. That's the biggest thing is like, there's a lot of real people here that aren't putting on a show. And so again, that may not always be the flashiest thing because that's not who we are. And that's okay. We are really real. We're going to treat you great. We're going to teach you how to be a man. We're going to develop you as a man and a football player. And that's that. And that's who we are. We're going to love you. And so that's who we are. And that's what we try to show. And hopefully that does come through in our social media channels. I think it does, but I'm biased.
Because it feels so real to you too. And I think you guys do an unbelievable job. I mean, me and you have talked since 2016, I guess. Coach Burton put us in touch while I was still at Temple.
Yeah.
And I've been following your work. I mean, NC State, I thought you did an unbelievable job. And then, you bounce over to Louisville, and I was at Georgia Tech then. And I mean, we're competing to an extent, but, we're always chatting back and forth and talking about, the new trends of what's going on. And I think that authenticity does very much so shine through your work.
Good. That's the point.
I did this Atlanta sports conference today. And to give you a little background, this sports conference, I was on a panel and we were talking to a bunch of kids at Georgia Tech that put on it. It's like their sports, community of business. And they asked me a question around the mentality that you have to hold working within the sports industry. And I don't know, that question kind of just resonated with me. So I wanted to throw it at you. And what do you think is like the most important piece of your mentality that you have to go as you start to, number one, bridge into the sports industry, and then you've been doing it for some years now. How have you sustained that success?
You're never too big for any job. And I don't know if you can break that down to one word. Could be humility, maybe, or hard work. I'm not sure how you can boil that down into.
Yeah, I think humility is a pretty good one for that.
Yeah, I've worn a lot of different hats. The greatest compliment that I've ever gotten before was Coach Set was telling the team. I just happened to be in the back. I was, running around passing out papers, and he was telling the team that for whatever reason my name came up, and was like, he's not too big to go clean the toilets, not too big to go wash the floors. And if you're not too big for something, you're never too small for something. And so that's a huge compliment. It still sticks in my mind when he said that. But I think that is the biggest piece. Like I've been asked to do a lot of different jobs, and some of them were terrible. They sucked, and you hated doing it, but I did it. I didn't say a word about it. And that's the words, that's not my job, will get you killed in sports.
Yeah.
It'll get you fired. It'll get you, won't get you taken anywhere to somebody's next job. Those words are the kiss of death, and I hate hearing it. I've heard it before. Don't hear it a lot now, just with the people that we're around, but
yeah.
Those words are not my vocabulary, and that's advice that I give to anybody that's trying to get into the business. You're not too big. If coach asks you to go clean the toilets, hey, locker room's a mess. Can you please go clean it? Or even if he doesn't ask you, if you see something that needs fixing, do it. Go ahead and do it. One thing we got when we first got here to Louisville, we cleaned the building, personally. Not the custodial staff, like all of us, everybody who we hired came in here and cleaned the building, and just taking ownership in your home. Yeah, exactly. And so that's the biggest piece as far as a mentality. You just got to have that servant mentality. if you want to be at a support role like we are, because that's what we are. We're serving support staff. We're here to support the coaches, support the players, support the team, and so can never lose that servant mentality.
I love that because it goes and I've talked about this before. You're giving yourself up for the betterment of the program when you do things like that. And I always go back to some of those moments where, again, you brought up like it's cleaning the building or cleaning the toilets, or Coach Collins put me in a position, while I was at Temple, where we would have to tape up signs in locker rooms. And every single day we would have to take those signs. They were different for each locker, untape them, move them over for 120 lockers. And, you just did it. And did it suck ass? Of course it did. We were sitting there, we're like, what the fuck is this? But at the end of the day, like if it just, and we would talk about this all the time, if it would get one player to play that 5% better or that 1% better, then you're winning. You're winning that day, because those little tiny minute details that you take to for the betterment of the program, for the betterment of your coaches and players and the whole nine, that's what creates championship mentalities.
Yeah, completely agree. You're exactly right on that. If it that one player, that one difference.
There were times at Temple, man, that I was like, I don't know if this football culture is made for me. That's where I had my biggest self-doubts, is like, we were waking up at 4 a.m. I was working until 12 at night, and I'm just like, you're burnt out to an extent, and it might not even be burnout. It might just be like, you're just like start like rolling in your mind, like what am I doing? How do I, continue to get better? And what always kept me aligned was by performing, you're ensuring that Coach Burton and Coach Thacker and Coach Larry Knight and Coach Tashard Choice, like those dudes have jobs. And if they have a job, you have a job, and your equipment managers have a job. And it's like, I love the whole family atmosphere and culture of what football was. But bro, when I got in, I was like culture shock. I mean, I was like, what is this?
Yep. I'm with you on that, man. Like there's always days where like, woof, this ain't for me. This is not for me. And I don't like this. And I'm not cut out for this. But you just keep your head down, keep pushing. And
and I'll say this with what you just said. I made the jump to J1S, and I've been out of football now for a little bit. I'm still attached to it in different capacities, so it's not too different. But the biggest thing I miss is like the 4 a.m. text from Coach Collins, like waking me up for X graphic that has to be in the team meeting, and I'm going to have like 20 minutes to make it by the time I get into work, and we go do it. And it's like those moments where you doubt yourself and you're able to like push through those hurdles. It's like, there's no better feeling. It's like a drug.
Yeah. I don't miss any of those. I don't get the 4 a.m. texts. I don't get those. And I would not miss those. But there's definitely, I'm sure there's something similar that I can relate to. But yeah, you're right. I mean, that getting stuff done, getting things done, or being known as a GSD guy, is exhilarating. Just like you said, it's almost like a drug. Yeah, I completely agree with that. You're exactly right.
You mentioned in the beginning of the podcast that you just had a kid. Obviously football is a ton of hours. Sports is a ton of hours. Tell me what it's been like over these last few weeks, man.
It's super interesting dynamic, right? There are coaches who had their baby, were present for that, and then were at work the next day. I've heard
normal story. I've
normal
seen that before too.
Yep, typical. And that was not just one person on our staff that said that. That was a couple.
Yep.
That was not me. Luckily, we obviously everybody who knows Coach Satt knows kind of guy is. So that wasn't an issue for me. I was off for about a week. She was born on Saturday. I went in on Wednesday to film practice, which was our last spring practice. So my wife graciously let me go for about 3-4 hours. Filmed practice, showed up, tried to stay hidden just so I could get as much film done as I could. But everybody saw me, so they come up and asked me, and talking about how's your wife, how's your baby, and but then went back, was off Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then the following week kind of was in most of the morning. We'd come home about 3-4ish to kind of just serve where I could, help serve my wife and as much as I can. And but so it's been good. It's been a good transition. It's been hard. Like the nights are long, but we are powering through. And somebody asked me it was actually my wife. She was concerned that I was not getting enough sleep, and I was like, dude, I've had less sleep when I was a GA, man. Like it sucks.
Yeah, you're sleeping
but
under your
I'm
desk.
Good. Like don't worry about me now. Like I'm good. Like I've had way worse. Yeah. I've been doing coaching clinic tapes, teach tapes with 1 hour of sleep, and they had to be perfect, right? So I'm good. But anyway, it's been great. Just another dimension to our marriage, and just it's awesome. So
did you have a boy or did you have a girl?
It's a girl.
It's a girl?
Yep. That's Claire.
That's awesome. Me and my fiance we were supposed to get married last year. We're now getting married at the end of this month. So we're excited, and I'm on the page of like, I want a kid. Like she's like, I don't know, slow down. Like I'm not ready. And I've always wanted, like, I think growing up, you say like, oh, I want a boy. Now that I've gotten a little bit older, I'm like, man, if I have like a mini Jen running around the house, I mean, like I will be the happiest, person around.
You're exactly right on that. Yeah. It's definitely been a blessing, because every guy, and maybe not, but most guys always say they want a boy, but having a girl, man, is heart melting. And I'm pretty soft in the first place, but it's just been waterworks day in. There's always some sort of crying going on here in the house.
I love that. I always wrap up the podcast. I have one more question for you. Pretty easy one, I think, and I'm sure you've been around for a while, so I'm interested to hear your perspective on who you'd want me to bring on. But who would you like to see on a Kofe Talk podcast?
Man, you got to get Ian on here.
Ian, yes. I've been telling him, I'm like, yeah, man, now that you're the big dog at Georgia Tech, I got to get you on.
Yeah, you got to get Ian on there. Let's see. I would say you can get. I'm trying to think. Chanel, you can get Chanel on there, or on here. Should be good.
Yeah, I have her lined up too.
Nice.
I know she's like down killing it right now in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Those guys all writing up, and did you end up hiring her?
No. She took my job.
Position.
Yeah, she took my job.
Yeah, that's what I was confused with. She's one of my favorite designers in the whole industry, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I think she's bold, and she says it how it is, and I love that. I think she is extremely talented, and what she does with her voice, I think, is even better than her work.
Those are the two that I would say. I don't necessarily know a whole lot of people in the profession, but those two are the best.
Yeah, they're rock stars. I didn't know Ian too much until he ended up getting the job at Georgia Tech, and
I'm still salty about.
I had nothing to do with it. No, but he's a very special talent. I mean, his design, I don't know if you feel this way, but just like I sat there when I was at Temple and I kind of knew this. And as I took the job at Georgia Tech, I was like, man, oh man, I mean, the digital space is moving so fast. I don't know how I'm going to keep up with this. I mean,
Yeah.
like, and we talk about just like finding different ways to bring value and, you know, how to navigate through that. But I mean, Ian's a testament to that. And there's so many other younger, you know, designers and videographers coming up that I didn't touch Photoshop until I was 20.
Mm-hmm.
These dudes are doing it, you know, from
Yep.
the time they're in high school. There's classes and there's different things. I'm like, man, like these dudes are growing up with it. Like, how do you compete?
Correct. Yeah, I worry about that all the time. That's a constant nightmare that I have. So
yeah, it's tough. And that's where you try to find value in different ways. And you know, you've obviously done that. You've had a long, successful career. So but you know, Tyler, I'm extremely grateful that you cut some time out to do this thing today. And
yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on. It's been cool. Don't often talk a lot about myself / story, so it's cool. And hopefully it helps people who are listening to if they're trying to break into the sports world and that kind of thing. So